This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Baglin.
Fall. We love to talk about fall, an exhilarating time of the year, especially if you love the outdoors. Kentucky Afield's TV show host Tim Farmer sure does, and I've grabbed him from between shoots, and we'll talk a little bit about fall. Also, in about 15 seconds, you'll hear a college girl talk about nature's finest license plates. And we'll talk to her about why she is so passionate about helping the cause. Plus, fundraiser fishing. It's all next on Kentucky Afield Radio.
Hi, I'm Sadie. When I was born in '94, so was an idea. Kentucky Nature License Plates. Over the years, they've featured butterflies, hummingbirds, and 2 words, nature's finest. These plates have helped safeguard more than 80,000 acres of wilderness areas, a number that's grown as I have, and I can't wait to see what's down the road. See with me. Next time you renew, choose a nature plate and pick the plate that keeps the bluegrass green.
Uncle Chuck, what is fall?
Fall means deer season.
Not football?
That's a spectator sport, my boy. But behind a bow or the barrel of a .243, that's when you're in the game. Fall archery season is open now with Modern Gun November 8th through 23rd. With 146 record-booked deer in the past 3 years, Kentucky is the promised land. Buy your deer permit today and take aim on a winning season at fw.ky.gov. This is Kentucky Afield Radio. My name's Charlie Baglin. We have a variety on the program today. For several years now, right here on this show, you have heard a commercial that talks about Kentucky's nature plates, the colorful plates that say nature's finest on them, a bobcat, a cardinal, butterfly. But there is a young lady who has been speaking on their behalf from her own perspective, from her own life experience. You have heard her here, and you will meet her here in a little while. Brent Booth will also join us to chat about a fishing tournament to help raise funds for school athletics in the southeastern part of the state. But for our first half hour is the host of Kentucky Afield TV. Let's give it up for Tim Farmer.
Good to be here, Charlie.
It's been a day or two, and you have won an Emmy, 2 Emmys in the meantime.
Oh, look who's talking.
I'm a very small part of the crew.
Well, an important part of the crew, though.
You are the star of the show, so congratulations. You won 2 Emmys. Now, I know one of them was about the Carp Madness show. It talked about Asian carp.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the second one?
The second one was for host moderator.
Host and moderator.
Yes, sir. So
not the way you wear your hair.
Not the way I wear my TV evangelist hair. No. I've actually been hosting the show. You know what this year is? This marks my, I want to say, 20th year. 94, 95 I came on, somewhere in there.
If this is your 20th year, you remember Hope Carlton was only here 23.
Really?
So you're going to surpass his tenure.
Maybe, probably. I don't see any reason to leave here right now, but I have spent over half my life here, Charlie. What a wonderful way to have a career at work.
You have the job everybody wants.
It's a cool job. It's a cool job.
So anyway, what are you doing with all these Emmys? Do you have a special shelf built at your house?
I've got 5, and that's a humbling thing. I mean, that lets, our peers, you have one, Charlie. I may be the face of Kentucky Afield, but you're the voice. Charlie's been doing it. When you hear, people know for 20-some years now, when you hear that voice, Kentucky Afield's going on, or on the radio. Yeah,
team effort.
We're very fortunate. We don't know all the time what it takes to make that recipe right, But we've been working on it a long time, and we hear from folks what they want to see, and we're just very fortunate that it works, it clicks, and we've got a great crew. One of the things that makes our shoots work, I think, you'll see a lot of this supposed reality show, I'm talking about, where it's scripted. My goal is to have people on the show who wouldn't necessarily want to be on television. Now, here's what happens when I get in a boat with this particular person and a producer, whether it be Bama or Nathan Brooks or Nathan Sangster. We get in the boat with this person or in the woods with this person, and they're shy. They don't want any part of the camera. Well, the guys are holding the camera down at their waist, and they're in on the conversation, and we're talking to them. We're joking around with the person before we go out. Before long, the camera becomes something that the person doesn't notice.
Yeah.
So it is actually a real type situation where I'm asking them questions. I'm getting information from them. I want our folks, the people who watch Kentucky Afield, to learn as we're learning from them. What I'll do is nod at whoever's running the camera, and they'll very subtly reach down and start running the camera when the person's not looking. And this isn't to be sneaky or anything, but it's to have that natural type situation where the conversation is not scripted, it's natural. And we're doing it with somebody who is not normally on television and may not even want to be, but we can get that natural information and natural type of conversation in a real world manner.
It's impossible to meet somebody who isn't camera shy.
Yeah.
And most people are. Oh, no, you don't want me. Oh, no, I don't have any story to tell. Oh, you wouldn't want me.
Yeah.
For some reason, then why am I standing here saying, I want you on the show? You're a character. You can go with us to show us your techniques in the field.
Right.
They don't realize what they have, but you do.
Perfect analogy. And that's what we look for because, our show's Kentucky Afield. And we're going to go afield every week somewhere. But we're looking for that person that we can learn something, even a tiny little bit, or just simply sit back and relax and watch other folks travel around this beautiful state we have and gather the beauty with the camera, with the music that we put in there, the guys put in there, and have this nice feeling show that is relaxed, and it is Kentucky.
Somebody's got to take your place one of these days, and I wonder if it's that little boy.
Charlie Baglin.
No. There, I'm just like the guy I just described. No, you wouldn't want me. But there was a kid in Owen County who been on the show a couple of times. What's he, 11 now? Braxton,
yeah.
Is there been any thought that you have to stay in place until he's old enough to assume the reins?
I absolutely wish that could be the case, because Braxton is... I've never seen anybody. He was exactly like I was at that age. Fishing pole in his hand. I'm sure it's going to be a BB gun and then a 22 and then a shotgun. He is. If you haven't watched the show, I would encourage you to go to YouTube and look up Our Biggest Little Fan, and you'll see Braxton. And, we were going through my tackle box, and he knew where everything was. He could quote which show that we'd done it on. It's just astounding.
Just a student of the show.
Yeah, and you know what? He's got that real feel for that. Hey, you talk about not knowing the cameras there, Charlie. Kid never knew we existed. He was so busy into his fishing, the camera just wasn't there. It was him and me in the water.
Well, speaking of you and the water, what's coming up on the show this fall? We have fall fishing, a lot of fall hunting. You've laid out a game plan yet?
We don't force anything. Everything just kind of lays itself out as we are out and about. We'll find somebody who says, hey, man, I got some great rabbit dogs. And I'll say, man, call me, right before the season.
Do they call you?
They call me. Or with the fishing, I'm getting constant feedback from people. They'll say, hey, man, you need to get down here Thursday. I got a day open. Come down here and fish with us. So we don't have to strive in this great resource to try to make things happen, because they're going to come to us, because that's just how good it is. And that's where you and I have to come in, and as we always do. And it's not in a artificial manner. It's in a genuine manner when we can say, hey, our biologists, whether they be fishers or wildlife, have got it going on. Because you go to any boat ramp and you look at the out-of-state licenses, everybody wants to come to Kentucky to fish. Everybody wants to come to Kentucky to hunt. Look at the Boone and Crockett bucks we have compared to other states. It's ridiculous. So this is our chance to ring our own bell a little bit in the biology department and all the way up, and we've got great folks.
Well, we know that you're going to be deer hunting. That's just a given.
Saturday.
You're going to be deer hunting, so we're going to expect some archery shoots.
Archery shoots are coming up. I have got my bow out. I've been shooting a little bit, and I'm not looking for bullwinkle. I'm looking for meat for the freezer, because you've seen, what I do. I eat venison. So I'm looking for a good-sized doe or a medium-sized doe, or something to go in my freezer. So that to me is what early season archery is.
Are you allowed to put your name in for the elk draw?
I am allowed to do that I don't, because I just don't want to do that while I'm an employee. And that's me, because I'm very visible. I just don't think it's the best idea for me to do that. And let me tell you what, the day I do retire, it's going to be the first thing I do is put in for the elk hunt.
And let's hope you get drawn.
Let's hope I get drawn.
We have deer. We've got a plethora of fall fishing. What are you looking forward to most, fishing-wise, come fall?
Fishing-wise, you'll see probably quite a bit of stream fishing going on. I like to get after those smallies with the fly rod. We have a Blue Water Trail segment that we do generally with Lee McClellan.
From Kentucky Afield Magazine.
Absolutely. We enjoy going out and seeing new water with him and showing folks where they can go out and enjoy the same sort of trip.
We're talking to the host of the Kentucky Afield television show, Tim Farmer. There's more, so stay with us here on Kentucky Afield Radio. Charlie Baglin back on Kentucky Afield Radio. One thing for sure about deer and fish, they don't always operate on cue. Producing a television show about the outdoors isn't easy. That said, Tim Farmer, a lot of it, your TV show, I mean, you have to fly by the seat of your pants.
It is that seat of the pants. And that is if you're open to different experiences in the hunting and fishing world, which I am, and we want it to be varied to show people how much you can do. You know, here's an example of how Kentucky Afield works. I did a show with Randall Gibson, who's passed on, bless his heart, great guy, and I ended up making friends with a lot of these people. Randall said, "Get down here right now." And that's what he would say. And when he said that, you saw the results.
Yeah.
You know, you see these.
You had a show waiting.
Yeah. So it was spitting snow, and we were catching striper, nice striper. We made a show out of it. A fellow watched the show. He watched it and was so taken in by it, he went down and put his boat in. Guess what he caught? State record trout.
A state record trout.
State record brown trout. He would not have been on those waters and caught that fish if he hadn't watched, and he said that in the interview.
Yeah.
He caught that fish because he watched. That is hopefully what we want to do with our television show. We want to inspire people to say, look what happens right here. That guy was not planning on catching a state record anything. And just because you watch Kentucky Afield and you go fishing doesn't mean you're going to catch a state record. But isn't that a cool story?
It is. You know, you can turn on the Outdoor Channel, maybe ESPN on a Sunday morning. You will find hunting and fishing shows enough to turn you blue. Yeah. But this one's local. Yeah. People have heard of Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley and Cumberland and some of the rivers and streams. They know it's not something they have to plan a week and save a year to go to. It's right here in their backyard.
And the great thing about Kentucky, in Kentucky, you can be just about anywhere within 5 hours. I mean, that's from tip to tip. Most of the places, you know, you can be there in an hour or two, and be just about anywhere in the state. And we got a lot of water when it comes to fishing.
Yeah, one thing that I've always liked about this state, but haven't always gotten to, our station in Benton certainly knows this area around Swan Lake, Ballard Wildlife Management Area. It looks like Louisiana does.
Yes. You remember that piece we did a while back, years ago?
Tell me about it. Remind me.
Well, we had a segment that we shot down there. We put 2 canoes in. And no, I think just 1. And we went out. No, it was 2, because I think Carl Babcock and Glenn Waldrop were on that one. And we shot all this footage going through the swamp. And it does. It looks like...
I do remember that.
You remember seeing the little prothonotary warblers?
Yes.
And then seeing the snapping turtle come up. And then, you know, we used some Steve Maslowski footage, too, of animals down there. And I put some Rycooter music on from Southern Comfort on that piece. And it was just really kind of, you know, moving slowly along, using the ambient sound from the particular birds that were... It was mainly the warblers that day. And just going through that swamp, there wasn't that much fishing going on. But the great thing about our state is you can go from one in a couple hours, and you can be in the bluegrass and then head down there, and it looks like you're in the swamps of, you know, Louisiana. Beautiful down there. It
really is. For anyone listening that hasn't seen much of Kentucky, you should. And maybe this fall would be a good time to do that while you've got all these hunting seasons, great fall fishing, beautiful fall colors. This would be a good opportunity. We got you for the rest of the segment. Tell me about your experience at the Kentucky State Fair.
2 of my favorite guys in the world, Joe B. Hall and Denny Crum. They were on our show. on Kentucky Afield, which was fun.
You were wearing the striped referee shirt.
Man, when they saw those black and white stripes, dude, I was afraid they were going to throw something at me. But that was a hoot to have those two in the same boat. But let me tell you a funny story about that. Those two guys did not get to be world-class coaches by not being competitive.
Yeah.
And when they fish, Charlie, their eyes turn into little slits.
Do they really? Are they competitive?
I'm not talking about
each other?
I'm not talking about competing against each other. I'm talking competing against themselves. They want that big fish. And so here's the situation right now. If I came in to do a radio show and I didn't talk, you'd be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But if we tried to do a radio show while we were deer hunting, we wouldn't have much, because I'd be saying, shh, Charlie, shh, shh. Or if we were trying to do something like that. These guys were trying to fish, and I'm trying to do a television show, and
they won't talk?
Ask a question there. They didn't want to talk, but I made them talk. So, I'd get this look like, Farmer, if you ask me one more question, then I'd ask them one more question. They'd try to get back to fishing, but it was a hoot, and we had a lot of fun. We always have a lot of fun with those guys.
Now, we know the Joe B. and Denny show, the core of that show is supposed to be about basketball or sports. I saw Joe B. one time. This was over in Lexington at the University of Kentucky, a tennis match of all things. And I walked up to Joe B. and I said, "Sir, you don't know me, but I want to congratulate you on having the best hunting and fishing show on radio." He just started laughing, because that's near and dear to both of them's heart.
And they're serious about it.
Yeah.
I mean, good sportsmen, both of them.
You used to have a lot of music on the show, not that you don't anymore, but I remember some standout voices. Louise Mandrell.
Oh, yeah.
Phil Everly. Who has been on singing, and where does that play a part in that side of Kentucky Afield?
Kentucky Afield has a long history of thumb picking when you hear the open of the show. Now, way back when I first started the show, that was actually Merle Travis playing Cannonball Rag. Before I got hurt, years ago, I was a thumb picker. I played music. I still play music. I still have a recording studio and use music in some of my other endeavors. That kind of music was so cool to me. And when I came in here, I started doing some research. Somebody sent me a tape of them playing Cannonball Rag, and it was Eddie Pennington. I thought, man, Eddie's doing a good job here. So when you listen to the Cannonball Rag now at the beginning and at the end of the show, it's Eddie Pennington. Different from what it was 30 years ago. It is different. Not that much different. Of course, Eddie's a heck of a picker, and he does that Merle Travis style, but he'd punch me in the mouth for saying this, but I think he might be as good as, or maybe even better than old Merle. He might be. I'm telling you, he's tough on it. He's modest. He would not admit to it, but he knows deep down that, he's got every lick that Merle does. Oh, man. And he's just he is one with that guitar. I mean, when he puts his hands on that, neck and starts playing, you just watch his fingers. They know where to go. It's in him. When the guys are producing a segment, they'll pick that right music. Now, it may not be, a thumb-picking song, and today you almost have to use, when we put our stuff on YouTube in order to monetize that, you have to have music that you've bought. All these guys have won Emmys now, and the one thing that you have to do is have a presentable story. But in order to tell a story, it's always been a huge part. And I used to do quite a bit of editing back here. You can tell a story better if you put that around the right music. Now, music helps to tell the story. Sure, you don't want to be obnoxious with it, but if you can pick the right piece that adds to everything. But, you have a daylight scene. You have a morning scene when the sun's coming up. You pick the right, just a tiny bit of, guitar coming in and, open up the morning, with the sun coming up and then the music building. And we've always had, everybody who's ever worked here has understood the importance of that. And, more intensely in the last 10 years, these guys really know how to tell a story and paint that picture with the music. That's why you have an Emmy-winning show, Tim Farmer. You have the right music. There's a term called nat sound, short for natural sound. The cutaway shots of the birds in the air and the birds on the limb and the sunrise. And you put it all together. There was a fella once upon a time said, "Oh, you must have an easy job. You take the camera, you put it on the river
riverbank, you turn it on, and you go fishing. And then 30 minutes later, you turn it off, and voila, your show is done. Not quite that easy.
No, it is. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of thought involved. These are smart people. These are people that are the best of the best that come in here. We choose them very carefully. We look at their reel when they come in. And people don't come in here and work for 2 years. We usually have long-term people that come in once they're here, and once people see what they can do, they stay. And we want them to stay because they do some good stuff.
Still trying to think ahead here to fall. Know that the show's going to be good. Have a few repeats during the summer, and that's well and good. If a good show is worth seeing once, just ask anybody that likes to watch the Andy Griffith show. It's worth seeing a few times.
First of all, talking about reruns, and we don't have an organized rerun season per se. Most shows in the real world have 12 to 17 shows they do per season. We don't do that. No. You may see a rerun during the holiday weekend when a lot of people are going to be out, and we know that. Or we've got rained out for a week consecutively, or we've had weather issues, or somebody's had a health issue, or that's when you'll see a rerun. Week after week, they continually produce good stuff. And it's not taking the camera out in a half hour and then coming back and everybody yee-hawing. It's work. It's good work, though. I've
heard the formula used 1.5 hours for every minute that you see on TV is taking 1.5 hours to produce. Is that anywhere close to right?
I would say that'd be pretty close.
So nothing quick. You got a 26.5-minute show once a week. May sound like it's easy. You can do it in a day or a half hour, but you can't.
Everybody has their own way of telling a story, which takes a magazine format show and divides it into 3 parts, and you have 3 guys who are telling stories differently. That's a winning combination.
Well, you've got it going on, Tim Farmer. I appreciate you stopping by. Good luck in the woods this fall.
Thank you, Charlie.
Still to come on the show, what's more important to a teenager, a license or a license plate? We'll talk to a girl who has the answer, plus the King of the Mountain fishing tournament. Stay with us. This is Kentucky Afield Radio. Bagman back on Kentucky Afield Radio. Please circle November 22nd on your calendar. There is a fishing tournament of note coming up at Lake Cumberland and Conley Bottom, and it's called King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament. $10,000 in total cash and prizes will be awarded, and all the proceeds raised will help go to fund youth athletics in southeastern Kentucky. You can learn more on Facebook. Just look up Kingfish Tourney. It's time now for our fishing report.
At Kentucky and Barkley Lakes down in western Kentucky, it's fall fishing season, and that means fish are scattered. That means you're going to find bass still out in that 20-foot of water. You're going to find those crappie out in 30-foot of water. You're going to find the catfish still out on the main river channel, or you could also find those bass up in 1 foot of water, the crappie up in 2 foot of water, around woody structure. So if I was going bass fishing, I'd probably start out shallow. Fish are scattered. I'd be throwing a crankbait when I'm out deep, up shallow, some type of spinnerbait, maybe even a worm. Crappie, I'm going to be fishing ledges out deep, jigs or minnows, or maybe a jig tipped with a minnow. Catfish again out on the main river channel, maybe using some cut bait, some night crawlers, definitely fall fishing patterns. You just got to be careful out there because the water level is lower. Well, this is Paul Reister, and I hope you find a good day to go fishing.
Hi, this is John Williams with the Fish Report for Southeast Kentucky. At Lake Cumberland, striped bass fishing has remained good. The water's cooling down. Most of our lakes are in the low 70s now. At Lake Cumberland, striped bass have moved shallower. Most fish being caught 30 feet or less on live bait or trolling jigs with curly-tail grubs or umbrella rigs with swim baits or curly-tail grubs. Most fish on the main lakes on flats. Elsewhere in the district, October means trout stockings in much of our streams and lakes throughout the district. Trout are being stocked in Bark Camp and Cane, Big Double and War Fork. Bark Camp and Cane have a catch and release season beginning October 1st, so it's catch and release only, artificial baits only. Also, some lakes being stocked with trout in October include Bird Combs, Beulah, Cannon Creek, Cedar Creek, and Wood Creek. Trout in those lakes can be caught on live bait or trolling small crankbaits or inline spinners. As always, good luck and be safe.
This is Rob Rold in the Northwestern Fishery District. Our major reservoirs, Nolan Lake and Rough River Lake, are currently stable. They are both scheduled to start their annual fall drawdown on Monday, October 20th. The cooler temperatures we've had for the last couple of weeks have caused fishing to pick up at the big lakes as well as our smaller impoundments. Largemouth bass have been good at both reservoirs, especially along the steeper, rocky banks. Use crayfish-colored or even shad-colored crankbaits. Crappie are also moving shallower at the reservoirs. Catfish are also still good on the Ohio River below the dams as well as some of the larger holes and undercut banks downstream. Green River, catfish have also been very active below the dams. So that's an update from the Northwestern Fishery District. Be safe on the water and always wear your life jacket.
By the time you're 20, you have a good knowledge of the course you're taking in life. I'm glad I do. This year, Kentucky Nature license plates turned 20 as well. These are plates with the bobcat, cardinal, and the butterfly. Kentucky Nature license plates have helped safeguard more than 80,000 acres of wilderness areas for everyone to appreciate. And I can't wait to see what's down the road. See with me. Next time you renew, choose a nature plate and drive home your support for the great outdoors.
Baglin back, and normally I don't say anything about the commercials we play on the radio, but the young lady talking about the nature license plates, she's here in the studio with me now. In 1994, the state formed what is called the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund. It's a group that was put together to buy and safeguard wild lands across the state to help keep them natural forevermore for future generations. Proceeds from Kentucky Nature license plates, those proceeds go to help this fund. My next guest is someone you have heard speak many times via radio commercials on this show. She is Sadie Meyer. It's nice to have Sadie here speaking without a script. So, Sadie, can we chat?
Alrighty.
Commercial said something about more kids are more concerned about getting their license than their first license plate.
Right.
But you spoke about your first nature license plate. What was it, Dragonfly?
I had a Dragonfly.
And you remember the car? So how many years ago was this?
I think it was about 4 years ago.
So we have sort of followed you, Sadie Meyer. You were born the same year this whole idea of nature license plates came about.
That's right. I was born in 1994.
Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund. That's a long Frankfurt type of term.
Right.
But they are the parent group over the Kentucky Nature license plates. And I'm trying to find the acreage, what these plates had done back in just as recently as 4 years ago. And it seems like, what was it, 70,000 or 68,000, somewhere in there?
Yeah, something like that.
They've always talked about you've grown as this acreage number has grown.
That's right. That's right. And this year in my new commercial, I'm going to say that 80,000 acres of wilderness areas have been saved due to these plates. And I think that's pretty incredible.
That is. You've moved around a little bit. You've seen a lot of Europe, and I guess you see the good that can come out of taking care of the environment, haven't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Every time, I've been a lot of places, especially this summer. I got to study abroad. I always like to come home. I like to see the Kentucky hills, and I think the fact that doesn't matter where I go, Kentucky is always the most beautiful to me, and I think it's very important to keep Kentucky beautiful, and that's what these plates do. It makes me proud to live here.
Because you were saying off mic, when you see another nature license plate, it reminds you of home.
That's right, that's right. I mean, I've gone all over the place this summer, but even when I'm in Lexington, I know it's a Kentucky thing, but I enjoy seeing other people that have nature license plates. It makes me, I feel like I'm a part of a team that's protecting my own state. When I'm driving down the interstate, I spend a lot of time looking at other people's license plates, and I'm always so happy when I see a butterfly or a bobcat.
There's a bunch of them out there. If you're in Missouri, let's say you go beyond an adjacent state. So let's say instead of going to Missouri, you go on a little bit farther to Kansas.
Right.
And you see one there. Hey,
that's right.
That's cool. People in Kentucky with nature plates, they like to get out and explore, it sounds like.
That's right. I love it when I see Kentucky plates. When I'm in a different place, I love to see what Kentucky's doing. I think it's great for other states to see that we're taking the step and preserving our beautiful state. I think it's great, even in California, if somebody drove all the way to California from Kentucky, they get to see what we've done here and what we're still doing to protect our environment.
They are called environmental plates, and a portion of the plate proceeds goes into a fund intended to buy and protect and safeguard wilderness areas, habitats. Right. And other states do this. When you see it, you notice it, like a wildlife type plate or a habitat plate or a songbird plate. And you know exactly that you can say, oh, that's from another state. But it's nice to see that you're not just part of the team in Kentucky, more of a national effort.
Right. I get to see that we're all doing our part. And
I'll never forget, the first time I ever saw the Kentucky Cumberland Falls plate. It was on the sexiest Mercedes-Benz.
No way.
I said, holy cow, that plate looks good on it.
Absolutely.
And I put one on my car and said, it looks good on mine.
That's right. I'll have to get my boyfriend to put it on his Lexus.
Oh, yes. I would like to see, and I don't know personally anybody that owns a Porsche or a Boxster. I guess I live under a rock. I don't know anybody drives a Lamborghini, but I'd love to see a nature plate on one of those.
Absolutely. I was at Bonefish Grill the other night, and we were so excited. There was a Maserati parked next to us, and I would love to see a nature plate on that Maserati for sure.
You'll buy your own Maserati one of these days when you're done with college. What is it you're studying?
I'm studying architecture right now. I'm also minoring in music and geography. So I'm doing a little bit of GIS work, and I'm actually really enjoying that part of it quite a bit.
Is there a lot of mathematics in architecture?
I think it's funny. People always ask me that, and at least in the College of Design at UK, most people don't like to worry about math. We're more design-focused, and there is a lot of math involved. It's just that the majority of the people that are in the college want to do the design portion of it more than anything else.
You mentioned earlier you were in Europe most of the summer. Was that an architectural trip?
It was. I got to study architecture in Europe for 5 weeks, and I had a great time doing it. We got to explore both Paris and Rome and really look at the ancient architecture all over the place. It was really eye-opening.
Is that something that you want just for your background information, or is that type of design still in demand today in the United States?
I think it's good to have a really strong background in historic architecture and ancient architecture, but I think every designer right now is putting their own spin on it. So I wouldn't call it background information. It's definitely still used today, especially in some modern buildings, but if you're one of the out there designers doing something completely different, you have a very good background in the ancient architecture, and then you put a new spin on it. You put your own different idea into the work.
It can have an Italian flair, but be very much American, I think.
Absolutely. I think so, too.
What is it you're wanting to design?
Cities, actually. I want to be an urban designer. So after I do my 4 years in architecture, I want to go to grad school and study urban design, potentially city planning. I haven't really decided if there's going to be a concentration in one or the other. But what I'm hoping to do is work into an urban design firm. And I'd like to, you plan parks in a city, and you take into account the city life and what goes on around your park and how to bring that into the park. And you do a beautifully designed area, maybe within a city. So I don't know if you plan the entire city out, whether it's parks. I've even seen like school campuses designed. Things like that. That's what I'm really interested in. Downtown
Louisville had a 4th Street project. They've had a few, I guess, over the years. Mm-hmm. What was just plain 4th Street, and you've been there,
right,
became the Galleria, sort of a downtown open-air shopping mall sort of thing. That went by the wayside. Now it's 4th Street Live.
Right.
Is that even on par with something you're wanting to do, maybe?
That's something I'm very interested in, yes. I've actually, living in Lexington, I've gotten really excited about what's happening on North Limestone. Their neighborhood association, they actually just got a creative placemaking grant. I'm not sure the amount of money off the top of my head, but basically to revitalize the neighborhood and really bring a lot of creative people into the area. I'm just really excited about it. That's the kind of stuff that I get really interested in.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Let me ask you about your interest in the outdoors. I know you have a nature license plate on your car, always have.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you camp out, you hunt, fish, hike? What are your interests in the outdoors?
I enjoy a lot of it. When I get the time, I like to go camping. Probably the thing I've been wanting to do all summer is go kayaking, and I haven't made it out yet. I like to just get out, immerse myself in an atmosphere that's away from the city. I enjoy fishing. I fished for my entire life. I dabble in a whole bunch of different things. I like to go with friends and experience the outdoors, and most of the time get a little wet while I'm there. So,
you know, when you were 16 and had that first nature license plate on your car, was that something you just did? Did any of your other classmates in high school say, "Why do you have that?" Or did that subject come up? Were you able to say, "This does good things"?
Well, actually, it was my parents my parents have always had nature plates ever since I was a kid. I would ask my parents about it sometimes. You know, why is there a bobcat on your license plate, Mom? And she'd tell me, you know, it's the nature license plates. It improves Kentucky. It keeps the environment safe. And so when I got in my car, it was just natural that I would pick a nature license plate. And when I went to school the first time, nobody really said anything. You know, we were all just excited to have our cars. Every once in a while, I get the question, you know, "That's an awesome license plate. I love the Dragonfly." I had the Dragonfly up until a year or so ago. That's a really cool Dragonfly, Sadie. Why did you pick that plate? And, you know, I get to say it's been in my family for years, and I love the outdoors, and it's something that I really want to be a part of.
I have known you personally, I think, probably since you were 14.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And you've always impressed me by being bright and years ahead of your time. And once I saw you a couple of years later driving a car with a nature plate on it, I got to thinking it's interesting to be able to follow your life in the fact that you were born the same year nature plates were. When you came into the world, so did these nature license plates, or the concept of them. And as they have grown, so have you. Do you mind being put as the nature plate girl?
Oh, not at all. In fact, I love it. I think when you posted my picture, I think maybe it was last year, sitting on my car, you know, showing off my Dragonfly plate. I was so proud of it. All of my friends liked it on Facebook, and I absolutely love that. I love being able to talk about something that's really important to me. Even where I live right now, there's a little place where I used to go play when I was younger. And that place has always been important to me, and I'd like that to stay here for future generations. And so
I feel like sort of eavesdropped on your life some, because following you through high school, now into college, and who knows where this could ever lead. And you may be old and gray, and we're still talking about you and nature plates.
Right.
And now that I have grandchildren, you know what I'm saying.
Right. I certainly hope my grandchildren would get it, especially my children.
Your life has certainly paralleled. I love how the interest you have taken in them, and you've let us sort of share your life with theirs.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it myself.
Nature plates, the plates that keep the bluegrass green. Wherever you are in the state, if you have one, you have helped make a big difference. Back with more in our final few. This is Charlie Baglin on Kentucky Afield Radio. Charlie Baglin back with our final few on Kentucky Afield Radio. On the phone with us is Brent Booth. He is in Hazard, an important man in a fishing tournament coming up at Lake Cumberland later in November. Brent, welcome to the show.
Hey, Charlie, how are you?
Good, you?
I'm doing well.
So the King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament.
Yes.
That's coming up in November. Proceeds are going to be benefiting sports, youth sports in southeastern Kentucky. Can you elaborate on that?
What we came up with is we're like anybody else. If you're going to be involved in sports, you have to raise money. And luckily, we had someone, Dinsmore Goodson, who is from Hazard and Perry County. He has fished a lot of tournaments, has gotten really good at it, and has helped run a few tournaments. And last year, he kind of pitched the idea of having a tournament, a fishing tournament, to be able to raise money. And it was so late in the year, didn't get the opportunity. So as soon as school started this year, he brought the idea back up to a few folks. And kind of what he came up with is throw the idea out there. If there's an organization that's willing to help with it and willing to work at it, that organization would be kind of the one that would benefit from the proceeds. And then the hope is if the first one goes well, that it would be offered to different group next year and so on and so forth. And this year, Hazard High School baseball or Hazard Middle School baseball both stepped up. help to promote it and are willing to work the event and things. And so that's kind of where some of that money will go this year.
So this is your inaugural event.
It is. This is the first one, and hopefully the first of many.
Well, we hope so. So is this going to benefit schools there in Hazard, or is there a broader region?
Well, again, this year it'll be the schools in Hazard because that's the organization or the group that was willing to work it. And, you know, and the one thing I have found out is to do this right, like I said, Dinsmore is the one that has been guiding us on this because he's done it before. To be successful, you know, it's not just we don't want guys just to show up, and you know, there's a lot of prep. There's a lot of you know, advertising, just like getting in touch with you and to do this interview and things like that. We've contacted numerous radio stations around the region. The coaches, the head baseball coach at Hazard and one of the other assistant coaches went to a fishing tournament last week, drove 3 hours to hand out flyers for this tournament. You know, so there's a lot of work that goes into it, and that's kind of why we've said, you know, look, whatever organization is willing to put in the time, they're the ones really that need to benefit from it because they're putting in the effort. So, you know, again, hopefully next year, if this one goes well, it'll become an annual thing, and different organizations can step up and say, you know, hey, look, we're willing to work that and be able to benefit from it.
Here's what I saw by reading your flyer: $10,000 in cash and prizes. Right? That's a bunch of bucks. I mean, are you not going to have to get a lot of entries just to cover the prizes, or how does that work? Is there a bigger pool of money from which you draw?
Well, what we did was, and again, this was, you know, based on what Dinsmore had seen and the allure to get guys, you know, because we want guys to come fish this tournament, is the $5,000 guarantee. That money was donated to our program as the initial guaranteed money. I couldn't tell you who that was. It was a kind of an anonymous donation. You know, that was the money that we had to have before we could even start advertising this to make sure that we could guarantee that first place $5,000. After that, it's going to be based on entries, and that's why we put on there, you know, 10% of the field would receive checks, so that'll be based on number of entries that we have. We've also had a couple other folks that have said that they would donate some of that money to help, so that way we can make sure that we're paying. You know, we want to make it beneficial. You know, we understand there are a lot of fishing tournaments around, but we wanted to make this one attractive so guys that fish these tournaments and know it's beneficial, you know, that it's worth their time to come and fish this thing.
Is there a goal that you're trying to reach? And I'm going to phrase this in two ways. Is there an amount of money that you're hoping to raise, or is there a project you're trying to complete, soccer field, baseball field, that type of thing?
Not really. There's not one specific thing. You know, there's always things on your fields that you need to improve or replace, you know, over time. It may be that we want to try to do some things where we're able to take the kids, for instance, you know, maybe a spring break trip to be able to play against some other competition and things like that. So really it's just trying to raise money for general, you know, whatever the programs that want to work it need.
So your King of the Mountain fishing tournament is going to be held on Lake Cumberland.
It is.
And this is at, you're launching out of Conley Bottom, right?
That's correct.
If anybody wanted to find out more, you have a website they could go on there and look, or maybe call their buddies and say, hey, you got to check this out?
Yeah, they actually could find us on Facebook. We kind of went that route, and you can look it up, King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament on Facebook, and we've actually had several hits off of some of the flyers that we've sent out. But they can check that out. On there, they can send me a message. The messages come to me, and what we'd like everyone to do is they can send us a message on Facebook. We can get their mailing address or email address. We will get the registration form to them. As soon as they send that back with their entry fee, we will get the boat numbers assigned, and then I could even go ahead and send them a message back and tell them, you know, what their boat number is.
The date of this is November 22nd.
That is correct.
Right? So is that a Saturday, I trust?
That is. And we feel like we've been able to put together a good quality one-day fishing tournament, you know, that people are going to enjoy.
If anybody wanted to contribute to your cause, but were busy that day or just weren't a fisherman, but still they wanted to help you make a difference for the kids, is there a mechanism for that they could contribute?
Sure. Sure, they could actually just go on the Facebook page and they could message me, and then I could give them information on how they could do that if they wanted to send any kind of donation, or maybe maybe they want to get involved. Maybe they're not fishermen, but they hear about this and they want to help that day a little bit. They might live in the area. By all means, they could send me a message on that Facebook page. Again, that's the King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament, and I'd be happy to talk to them and see what we can work out.
When you go to Facebook and you go to the search box, what do you put in there to find you?
You can actually type in King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament. What the King Fish Tourney is, if you just were to go to your web browser and you wanted to go straight to that page instead of logging in, you could type in the www.facebook.com/Kingfish Tourney, and it would just take you straight there. But if you're already logged into Facebook, you can type in King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament. It'll bring it up.
It'll bring it up. November 22nd, Connolly Bottom on Lake Cumberland. Brett Booth, good luck to you, and hope you have a big turnout.
We sure thank you for having us on here, and again, we just hope everyone will come out that day. We feel like we're going to put on a good tournament, and we hope to see a lot of people out.
King of the Mountain Fishing Tournament. We're out of time. This is Charlie Baglin inviting you to join us in a week, and we will go inside outdoors again right here on Kentucky Afield Radio.